Okay, so now let's see how the revolution slider works and how it can be changed. Let's keep it parallel between website and NetBeans. Okay, so let's go to NetBeans now. And so the revolution slider is at the top of the page-home.php, right? So let's take a look at it. Before we go into the code, let me give you a brief explanation on how it works. It all works based on layers, and you can add as many slides as you want. Of course, you have to be mindful that each slide will increase the time it takes for the website to load, so you want to keep it short and not overwhelm users. We set a background color in the section that you see, and it rotates every X amount of seconds that we define. I'll show you where you can do it. And you can add images, videos, audio, text, whatever you want there. It just works as a website within the website, and it's very dynamic, but I suggest to keep it simple, especially in the beginning that you're learning how to get it done. Okay, so let's if we look at this website, for example, I'm sorry, that at this slide, the fourth slide, you actually see 3 pictures and 2 sentences. And let's go back and load it again. You see that the sentences load first, top sentence first, the second one next, and then the images come out together. We'll see how this works in the background, right? And so if we shift to NetBeans, this is actually the 4th slide. I'm going to go quickly one by one. You see that the slides are divided into a main image, which is the background image, and a sequence of divs. And each div is actually a layer. And we're going to work with the z-index. So we're going to create kind of like a 3D look and feel that things can be added on top of one another. So each layer can be added, and then those layers ideally should not overlap, but it gives really a 3D feel that you can add multiple layers one on top of another if that's what you want to do, or just add the layers separately as we're seeing here. And so if we look at each layer, and let's go to the 4th slide, second, third, and the 4th slide here. Okay, and so the first, each slide, as you can see, it's an li, right? It's an element of a list, and so you can simply copy and paste. If you want to add a new slide, I suggest to copy an entire slide section, copy and paste it, and then start changing things. If you would simply like to add a layer within a slide, then you can simply copy and paste, right, the div, which represents the layer. As you can see here, everything is labeled, and get it to work. Okay, so let's see here the image. This is a background image. I'm getting we've seen this instruction before. Gets the default directory, and then you continue with assets, images, demo, revolution slider, slide bg1. So it goes all the way there to this link, right, to grab the image that will be put on the background. These other elements here, you don't really have to worry about it. The out is important for SEO purposes, but we're not that far yet, and you don't really need to worry about the other data dash elements. So let's look at the layer, and specifically let's look at the layer number 1, which is actually the first sentence. The PLI believes if every country had a word service corps. So it's this sentence here at the top. So here we set up that the div, right, has a as this TP caption. I would say that you can just add it there. I'm not going to go into details, but just add it there. And the medium BG red, this is actually the background color, right? As you see here, the background color, even though it looks orange, it's red, right? And then there's a few that I set the red, and I set the dark blue. So if you would change it to dark blue here and save, you see that the first sentence there would have a dark blue background. So let's go back to red, and skew from left or from right. This is just how the sentence is added, right, to the screen. We see here that the top sentence comes from the left side, whereas the bottom sentence comes from the right. So that's the skew from left to skew from right. It's just a effect that you can add, and the custom out is how it's gonna disappear. And so I would leave the custom out there. Data X and data Y are the elements where you define where the sentence is to be placed. In this case, it's 40 and 40, so it's supposed to be at the top left corner, so 40 pixels from the left and 40 pixels from the top, right? If you would do here 0 and 0, you'll see that the sentence will shift up and to the left, as you can see there. It's the very beginning of the slide. Right, so let's go back left 40 and 40. This is like a try and miss, right? You keep changing the position and see where it goes nicely. The data custom out, I would just leave as is. As you can see, there's a long list of things. Don't worry about it right now, just leave as is. Data speed is how fast it shows on the screen. So if it's 800, right, you have that element coming with the speed that you saw before. If you change to 80, see, it was actually super fast. So the smaller the number, the faster it's gonna show up. I actually don't know if it would go up to 8,000. Let's see, but it might. So it will come really slow. Exactly, as you can see there, very slow, right? So you're just gonna leave at 800. Data start, it's when the image, the icon element there would be displayed. If you would change it to, let's say, 2000 instead of 500 and go back here, you'll see that it takes 2 seconds for it to display, right? In this case, we're gonna go back to 500. So the data start will actually define which elements should be added first on the screen. And in this case, we see that the first top sentence comes first, the bottom comes after, and the images come after those. So the data start is the element responsible for it. The data easing, I'm just using the easy out is one option of the element here. I would suggest to leave as is. There are other options if you can look at the documentation, but let's keep it simple for now. The data end speed is actually not an element that you don't really have to worry at this point. It's just when things will be removed from the screen, just leave as is. The data easing, again, another element that you don't really have to worry, just leave as is. If you want to get more detailed description about all these elements, look at the documentation that it's on the website. It's actually outside here. I can show, let me see if I can easily see from here. No, but well, I can show you that. I can send you the documentation again if it's needed. But and more as important as the other elements, we have the style, which is the z-index, and the z-index. And the z-index is actually where the layer is supposed to be added, right? So in this case, have layer z-index 4, 3, 2, 2, and 2 here. So it's an interesting. So if I set up layer 2 for all of them, they will be at the same height, or at the same 3D effect on the page. So let's just play with this for a bit, and let's look at for example, the images, two of the images, and I'm gonna now, as you can see here, this image word service corp supporters is the I believe, let me look here, data X and Y. Okay, so it's this first one, and actually I'll take that back. That's just a URL, it's just a link. The image is actually here, so it's slide 4.1 and 4.2, and actually this is a 4.1, Everytown needs a castle, and 4.2. And so now you know that they're separate here, but let's make them starting at the same position. So instead of 360, let me just do 40, and what you will see is that one image is simply on top of one another, and of course we're seeing that they're both there because they have different height and width. Otherwise it would be just one on top of the other. In this case the second image is on top because it was simply added later, and see the z-index, the z-index is the same. Now let's change the z-index for the second image here to 3, and let's see what happens. Let's load it again, and now the layers are different. One is 2, right? The other one is 3. So technically they are on different 3D, on the different 3D position, right? But you didn't notice any difference because this image was already added after, and so it didn't change from the previous scenario. Now let's do the opposite. Let's do z-index 3 for the first added one and 2 for the other, and now we're giving a higher z-index to the top image. And if we just refresh the page, we're gonna see that it is the opposite now, right? As you can see it, so the Everytown needs a castle, it's z-index 3, so it's a higher z-index, so it's closer to you. So that's probably the easiest way to remember things. The higher the z-index, the more important that element is, or the closer to you that element will be. So it takes priority on top of the others when it comes to be displayed, right? It always comes on top. The 2 and 2 here did not make any difference because the data X and Y are different, so in this case it wouldn't really matter. But let's say that we would make it fancier here. We would put all these images coming separately, and once one would come, the other one would simply vanish. If we would put the different z-indexes, we could play like which image comes on top of one another, which one fades in the background of the other. So I guess this is a little too complicated, so let's keep it simple. So just to recap, right, the revolution slider is the whole div here in the top of the page-home.php file. We have many slides. You can have as many as you want within the slides, right? Each slide is a LI, it's an element of an unordered list of an UL. Within each LI you have the background image and you have the layers, and each layer will have the classes at the top here, where you can change as you would like. I would suggest probably just to change the colors to red and blue if needed, and most importantly the data X and Y. It's where the element is displayed on that slide, the speed that it enters, how quick it enters, right? So data speed and data start, and then the z-index, right? And whatever you want to add, you add it after. If it's just text, very simple. If it's an image, as we've seen before, right, with the other example, you can add just the image. If you want to make that image clickable, you add a link, right, and an image within that link. So it's just a plain HTML coding. So I think that's a good explanation for the slider. Let's take a look at the next one very briefly. We have a video and all those links. If if you would simply go to this final slide, right, it's right here. So we have the background image and the layers. Actually, it's the next slide here. Background image and the layers, so help us get the word out. Let's go back here. So it's this first sentence, right, and then we have the links one by one. So starting layer 2 probably to layer 9 or something. Correct, layer 9 is the images. Let's see here, actually layer 8. And there are links, right, as we can see here. And here there are two images, one the video itself and the other one that shadow for the video, give it a 3D look. And let's say if you would like to reorganize these links, what you would have to do is change layers from 2 to 8, right? So 2 to 8 are all these links, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. If you would like to change just the wording, very simple. Let's say for the blog here, it's layer 2, right? So let's say we want to change to visit our blog, and you just change the text and it would show up there, right there. If let's say you would like to change it completely, you would change the text and also the link, right? So you would change also the link here to point to wherever you wanted. Let's see if you want to add it after, right, the other layers. You don't really have to switch it around, but it would be ideal if you switch so it keeps the sequence. But you actually want to play with the data X and Y. As you can see here, all of them starts with data X 80 and the Y keeps increasing. So 130 for the blog, 173 for the Facebook, 216 for the Twitter, and so on. So each of these links, right, they will be changing on the data y-axis, and the data speed, it's always the same. You can change if you want, but important here the data start, so it gives the proper sequence. So the links will be added from top to bottom, as you can see here, right? Gives a nice effect, right? So for example, the blog is data starts 1, right, the 1.8 seconds. The Facebook's 1.9, the other one is 2. So in other words, there's like 0.1 second between each of those links, right? So if just for the sake of it, you would change the Facebook to 4.8 seconds, the Facebook link would be the very last to be displayed. It would be a little hole there until it's finally added, as you could see, right? So what you will really play around will be with the, as I said, mostly data X, data Y. The data speed is the data that it enters the screen. The data start, that's when it enters the screen, and the z-index, right? And the z-index will only be useful if you're adding things on top of the other. If they're all spread out, it doesn't really matter the z-index that you enter. You will not see any difference, right, on its effect, as I showed previously. So that's a good summary of the revolution slider.